On this week's show, Rockstar starts 2026 with a bang, and somehow it's not GTA 6. Leaks, backlash, and one big question everyone's asking: is GTA 6 in trouble? Today we're breaking down what actually happened, Rockstar's response, and whether this drama delays the game we've all been waiting for since forever. Plus, AIgaming doing things it probably shouldn't, Xbox Direct reactions, Halo updates, Gears of War E-Day, Forza Horizon 6, and much more. Real talk from real gamers. This is Two Men Chatting. Strap in, it's a big one. Hello and welcome to the show. So let's clear this one up, because this story spread fast, got dramatic, and then needed an actual adult explanation. Early Monday morning, emergency services were called to Rockstar North studio in Edinburgh after what was initially reported as a small boiler room explosion. And yes, this is the same building where GTA 6 is being developed, which is why everyone's collectively went, oh, of course this has happened now. Fire crews were called at 5:02 AM, multiple vehicles were on site, and the situation was serious enough that firefighters stayed for over 4 hours to secure what was described as structural damage to the building. Naturally, the internet did what it does best and immediately jumped to the worst possible conclusion. However, important part, Rockstar has since confirmed that everyone is okay. In a statement, Rockstar said there was a malfunction in one of the heating boilers, thanked emergency services for their quick response, and confirmed that the studio reopened the same day and remains fully operational. So no, GTA 6 has not exploded, the boiler did. Huge difference. Early reports did mention structural damage, but Rockstar's update suggests it was minimal and there were no injuries. Still, it's hard to ignore the timing. This all happens during ongoing speculation, after layoffs and union-related disputes, and right in the middle of Rockstar being under a microscope. Which means even a boiler issue turns into headline fuel. The important takeaway here is simple. No one was hurt, the studio is open, and development continues. But yeah, if you were looking for a metaphor for Rockstar's week, a boiler blowing up at 5 AM in the GTA 6 building is about as on the nose as it gets. Now, how is this going to potentially affect GTA 6? That's the big question that everyone is asking. Now, me and Hoggy, we both are eagerly anticipating the release later this year. And of course, we're on tenterhooks like, oh no, what's going on here? So, I personally don't see a major impact. There's obviously going to be a small impact as the building is repaired and things are done slightly differently for a few days, but ultimately, will it majorly delay the game? I don't think so. What about you, Hoggy? What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, I think it's obviously a bit crazy that this has happened, literally at the start of the new year, and I'm glad that obviously no one's been hurt or anything like that, and I hope it doesn't really affect it release day wise. 'Cause I mean, I would imagine there would be something in place in case of said scenarios like this ever happens.
Oh, you'd hope so.
Oh yeah, definitely. And obviously, well, we've been hearing obviously how much they are meant to be putting into this game, which is what, like $2 billion.
Yeah, give
That's
or
quite
take.
a lot of money to put into a video game, and especially for it to be just gone in one go, especially for this type of scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. As the internet does usually, it just blew things, ironically, way out of proportion. It was a little bit strange, though, actually, because literally the day before, you was watching Malcolm in the Middle, and tell people what happened.
Well, basically, the episode was basically Malcolm going to high school, and it was a scene where they were outside where the lockers and all that, and I think it was his brother's locker, and he had it open, and basically, I thought I was seeing things, and I just seen the Rockstar North logo in the locker, and I was like, I imagining this, or it's just a bit of a coincidence of me seeing it because I played the game Rockstar games quite often, and it was a nice surprise to see, and I was actually surprised that it was actually in Malcolm in the Middle. So
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
not the first time we see the Rockstar sticker. There is a further episode in that series, series 4, I believe it is, episode 14, where Hal is visiting his friends. He's in an office or some building, and in the background on the wall we see another Rockstar logo. It's the yellow one. We'll have images up on screen for people that are interested. Now back to this boiler situation. There are many people covering this news on X and YouTube and TikTok and basically everywhere because it's Rockstar Games, someone farts in the office and it's news. However, not everyone is as honest, shall we say, when it comes to their reporting. The likes of Mr. Boss, for example, we all know him, we all hate him, but for somehow he's like a cockroach, just keeps on coming back. He uploaded his video, again talking about the explosion, but unfortunately he kind of made things extremely exaggerated. He basically used an AI-generated thumbnail depicting Rockstar North building in Holyrood in Edinburgh, engulfed in flames. It looked like a scene from hell itself. And this brings us the question of, is AI gonna be good for gaming? Because earlier this week, Elon Musk has suggested that there are zero chance that AI could generate a release something like GTA 6 before Rockstar does, which is both hilarious and deeply on brand. Now, he basically says that it's going to make games great again. So far, most of that energy has gone into Grok, the Twitter, now known as X chatbot, which hasn't exactly been subtle. But Elon insists the plan hasn't changed. He says AI-generated games are coming soon, claiming a playable AI-made game by the end of 2026, a watchable AI-generated movie by the end of 2026, and a good AI-generated movie by 2027, which feels extremely optimistic, but confidence has never been the issue. The GTA comment kicked off after an AI tech CEO suggested we might be able to generate your own GTA in a few minutes before the real thing. Musk agreed, and Epic Games boss Tim Sweeney jumped in, saying text to GTA is the next logical step after text to image and text to video. Musk's response was basically, you won't even have to ask. AI will just figure out what game you want, which is either the future of gaming or the start of a very specific Black Mirror episode. Now, to be fair to Rockstar, they've been working on GTA 6 since 2014, apparently, with full production ramping up sometime after Red Dead Redemption 2 release in 2018. The game's now scheduled for November 19th, 2026. Of course, we all know that date. And reports suggest it's still being actively built and expanding, despite the recent incident this Monday. So yeah, Rockstar is taking their time, but the idea that an AI could casually knock out a GTA scale game in a few minutes might be slightly underselling what goes into it. Making a good game. This conversation also lands in the middle of a very real concern about AI, especially after actors and developers have spoken out about deepfakes, misuse, and the lack of protections, including backlash aimed directly at tools like Grok. So, while the idea of AI generated games is fascinating, there's a big gap between technically possible and something you'd actually want to play. Still, if AI somehow releases GTA 6 before Rockstar does, honestly, that might be the most Rockstar thing to ever happen. Now, Rockstar themselves have dived into using AI to not entirely produce a game, but it's exponentially speed up the production, and we are of course talking about the trilogy, the Disaster Edition, an immeasurable amount of issues using AI. Cost, you've got Escobat Airport, formerly known as Escobar. You and I have both played the trilogy, and whilst it is a good game based on the original trilogy, it just wasn't done in the right way. I mean, you've got all these spelling issues of major locations and brands, and you're like, well, why can't they just simply put the actual time and effort in like they did originally? Yeah, it'll maybe take a year or two longer, but how long have they been spending patching it? I mean, we're getting 1 or 2 patches every year since it came out. I was like, well, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, you've played the trilogy. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, it's not the original team that's gone and done it. It's Grove Street Games, and it's only as far as we know, it's a handful of people in that development studio, and I just think that these are the games that put them on the map. These are their major game franchise, and it should have been looked at with more appreciation and care. It's their baby. It's made them what they are now. So yeah, I feel like it's still it's still playable. It's how I remember the story of it all. But obviously, there's the odd few changes to it, which I personally think was not necessary, because why would it be needed today? Well, I mean, well, you know how things are, but unfortunately, that's how it is. But yeah, it could have been, like I say, it could have been treated better. It should
Yeah,
have been
absolutely.
the original team, or at least a part of the team, or a little part of that to do it.
Absolutely. And it really does bring into question, in the future, how far is AI going to go with games? And, like Elon Musk is suggesting, we could simply just put a few commands into ChatGPT and we get, this 20-hour open world game that's just as good as GTA. I personally don't believe anything AI can do will be as close to what humans can do when it comes to making video games. I personally used AI to help with production, such as creating thumbnails and things like that. But create an entire game with the same level of attention to detail and the emotion that the developers actually put in, I just personally don't think we're anywhere close. I think little side scrollers and retro style games, maybe, yeah, possibly. And there's probably already 1 or 2 out there. I mean, would you be willing to, spend 40, 50 quid on a game that is AI? Or would you rather spend 40, 50 quid on a game that's been made by actual passionate developers?
Um, I mean, I mean, it's not happened yet. I've not seen a game that's entirely made by AI, so I don't have a full opinion on it yet. It'd be interesting to see how it plays and how well it's done it. But at least with human touch, you know what you're gonna get, and you know what you want. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, as I say, I'd rather have the human touch, and obviously, yeah, AI will help in some aspects if needed for certain situations. But other than
Yeah, oh,
that,
absolutely. I mean, you've got a lot of menial, repetitive tasks in video. Say you want to create a texture that you want to apply to, say, multiple vehicles, but you want to change the interior of that vehicle slightly different. Absolutely, you're going to speed up production, and it's very minimal problems if there's an issue. I mean, if you just take in the one texture and then you're applying it to multiple vehicles, but you're maybe changing this color or this type of material, AI would absolutely have no problems with that. It's just, given what we had with a trilogy, it was a poor response with AI, and I personally just don't think a big game studio like Rockstar should be resorting to AI. So, speaking of big game studios, Ubisoft is also in the headlines this week, probably for the wrong reasons. Let's just call it a week for Ubisoft, shall we? The company has announced a major internal restructure. And the fallout is just too big for words, really. 6 games have been cancelled, 7 more have been delayed, 2 studios shut down, and more layoffs across the business. And yes, before you ask, Prince of Persia, the game that was announced 5 years ago, the remake has also been cancelled. That remake had already been rebooted once, disappeared for several years, and now Ubisoft has quietly taken it back and just said, no, we're not doing it now. Of the 6 cancelled projects, only Prince of Persia has been named. The rest include 3 new IPs, a mobile game, and another unannounced title, all scrapped as Ubisoft shifts focus almost entirely to open world games and live services. Because if there's one thing the industry definitely needs right now, it's more live service games. So, 7 other projects have been delayed, including the unannounced title widely believed to be the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remaster, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, as the rumours suggest. That's now expected sometime before March 27 next year, so still coming, just not anytime soon. On the studio side, Ubisoft Stockholm is closing completely, alongside mobile studio Ubisoft Halifax. Restructuring has also hit teams in Abu Dhabi, Red Lynx and Massive, the studio behind The Division. And in a move that has gone down extremely well, Ubisoft has also told the teams they must return to the office 5 days a week, with a small allowance for remote devs, because nothing boosts creativity like mandatory commutes during layoffs. Ubisoft says all of this comes down to a harsher market, increased competition, and the need to focus only on projects they believe can finish number 1 or 2 in their respective categories. Financially, the company has scrapped its previous forecasts and now expects €330 million less in net bookings than planned, which tells you just how serious this reset is. To manage all this, Ubisoft is splitting its global development teams into 5 creative houses, which each operate almost like its own mini company. Creative House 1 will deal with Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Rainbow Six. Creative House 2, shooters such as The Division and Ghost Recon. House 3 is live service such as For Honor and The Crew. House 4, narrative such as Prince of Persia and somehow Beyond Good and Evil, even though that's, it's just an example. House 5 is casual and family games like Just Dance, Uno, and mobile titles. So yeah, this is Ubisoft saying the old way wasn't working and hitting the reset button hard. Whether this makes games better or just fewer games with bigger budgets and more monetization, that's the part players are still waiting to see. Now, I for one, I was never really a big Prince of Persia player. I remember playing Sands of Time. I think it was on the PS2 way back when. And of course, it was a game that was piquing my interest, but it was announced 2020. And then 5 years later, hardly any news, if at all. And then it gets just completely cancelled. You've then got this heavily rumoured Black Flag remake. Now, we've had no official confirmation from Ubisoft, but again, things have popped up, various leaks and rumours that, let's just say, are highly likely to be true, that this Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is in development. Now, you, Hoggy, you absolutely love your Assassin's Creed game. How is this? What are your thoughts on the whole Ubisoft thing, but especially a potential Black Flag remaster?
I actually do like the idea of a full-on like remake, or at least, well, as far as I've been hearing, it's meant to be like a remake of sorts. And Black Flag is the one game that a lot of people love from Assassin's Creed so far, and yeah, I am keeping an eye on that, and I do hope that it does come out. It's unfortunate with the likes of Prince of Persia, because I've not really played a whole lot of Prince of Persia, but what I did play of it, which was, I think it was Prince of Persia, was it the Two Thrones? I think that's what it was anyway.
Yeah.
And from what I played that, I mean, I didn't play it fully, but I did play a bit of it. And from what I did play, I actually enjoyed it. And the fact is as well, they say that Assassin's Creed came to be from like an idea for a Prince of Persia game. So it's kind of interesting to hear that story, that it's basically come from an idea for Prince of Persia, then it turned into Assassin's Creed. But yeah, I do hope that it does come out, and I hope we do see something of it soon.
I think for the many Assassin's Creed fans, one of the biggest parts of Black Flag was the ship combat and the ability. It was the first time they'd introduced that to the game. I mean, we ended up with Skull and Bones as a result of that, which they clearly read the wrong brief for that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too big of an Assassin's Creed player, but I did like the ships element to the game. It freshened it up a little bit. But is Black Flag Resynced? Well, supposedly Black Flag Resynced is going to have more modern day elements regarding, like the UI and things like that, as well as Abstergo Industries. There's going to be new things added to the game. It seems more like we couldn't do it back then, but we can do it now kind of deal. But freshening up the game, bringing it to current gen systems, possibly new gen as well. I do like the idea of it, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, games that are coming this year and are still not been cancelled or delayed. We had Microsoft's first of 2026 Developer Direct. Now, this Direct was very deliberately not a hype show. Microsoft clearly shifted gears here, focusing less on its big CGI moments and more on actual gameplay, release windows, and developer insight. The message throughout the showcase was consistency and clarity. Instead of promises years away, Xbox leaned into gameplay first reveals, day one Game Pass support, developers explaining what the games actually are, and there was also the underlying theme of platform flexibility, with open discussion around cross-platform releases, including what might land on PlayStation and when. Reactions have been mixed, but mostly positive. A lot of fans appreciated the no-nonsense format. Some were disappointed by the lack of shock reveals. Others liked finally getting real timelines instead of vague teasers. And overall, this felt less like Xbox trying to impress and more like Xbox saying, here's what we're actually shipping, judges on that. Now, the games announced there were Forza, well, I say announced, they were shown off, but properly shown off. Forza Horizon 6, set in Japan, looks absolutely beautiful. Then we had Beasts of Reincarnation, again, a nice little game coming from a Japanese studio. Then we had Kiln. Now, Kiln we'll get into in a minute, but Kiln was, for me, the standout. I was watching it, I was like, very interesting. And then we had Fable as well, surprisingly developed by Turn 10, who have been developing the Forza games for the last umpteen years, suddenly jumped on the Fable bandwagon. So we're going to get into that now, beginning off with Forza Horizon 6. Now, this looked absolutely beautiful. It was one of the biggest talking points of the entire show. Microsoft confirmed the launch date of May 19th, which, let's face it, we already knew that, given the recent leaks. Early access for Premium Edition players will be available on May 15th. It's day one on Game Pass. We love that. And PC and Xbox Series S and X at launch, with PlayStation 5 versions coming later this year. Now, it was rumoured that it was going to be day and date as Series S and X and PC, but unfortunately not the case. The game is set in Japan, a location fans have wanted for years, and one that was accidentally leaked, as we just discussed, by a real-world car import company, which only added to the hype. You start as a rookie racer exploring Japan with two companions, Geordie, a motorsports fanatic, and Miai, a experienced Japanese car builder. The world spans from rural mountain roads to a dense, highly detailed Tokyo, which Playground Games says is the most complex city they've ever built, and it certainly looks really good. Key gameplay highlights include over 550 vehicles at launch, which for a launch is the biggest. I mean, currently we have over 700 in Horizon 5, but that's been added over several years. There's a new estate system, a customizable mountain property you can build from, basically scratch. A brief tease of a Gundam-style crossover shown right at the end, and Forza Horizon 6 feels like a confident evolution, not a reinvention, and the platform conversation around it may end up being just as big as the game itself. Now, I was watching it, I was like, it looks really good, but it also kind of just looks like Forza Horizon 5 is now set in Tokyo. The thing that you were quite surprised at was the whole build system.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. But the only thing about it, I'm sure they said that it was in the previous game. Now I don't know. I mean, it probably is because, but obviously they just said it. But I've not experienced that myself on the previous game, so I might have to see how that is then if it's on the previous one. But yeah,
Yeah, most likely.
to be able to build like your own your own little area out of it, that I was kind of blown away by. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it seems like, again, it's just, to me, it's a nice little addition, but it also just feels like it's trying to cater to more than one type of gamer. I mean, let's face it, we all know Fortnite allows that sort of thing. It's not obviously Fortnite, but still, yeah, what can we come up with new for this same game? I mean, let's face it, Horizon 3 all the way through to now Horizon 6 is ultimately just an open world racing game. You're part of a festival, you're part of a crew, you build up your rankings, and you become the number one. And only thing that really changes throughout the years is your location, the quality, the graphics, the console you're playing it on. But this time around, it really does feel like it's had a big evolution. Like, if you look at some of the building details as well, like there was quite a high quality building in one of the screens, well, in the trailer. And I was like, that's really, it's not amazing quality, it's not the same quality cars, but let's face it, the cars are the star of the show here. Of course you're going to want these beautiful cars, absolutely high detail. Now, will it be big on launch? I mean, it's going to be on Game Pass, so a lot of people are going to have access to it anyway. But PlayStation coming later this year. Now, this makes sense from a business perspective. You're going to want to gauge your audience, make sure it's fully working, because don't forget, you've got a PS5 base and you've got a PS5 Pro. And we know we've had a few issues with games coming out on the PS5 Pro which perform worse than on the base. So maybe that's why we're getting a later release. Now, obviously, me and you, we're more towards the Xbox ecosystem rather than PlayStation. But do you think going forward we should have Xbox games day one on PlayStation, or do you like the PlayStation has to wait? If they wanna play the games, come jump on our boat sort of deal.
Well, I mean, it works both ways. It really, it's like other games like, say for example, God of War. Xbox doesn't have that. Now, I imagine if we were to get it, it would obviously. I think it would be they would get it first, and then eventually we do. I don't know. Like for me, it'd be nice for everyone to get them all on each respective consoles that they have. And for me, I don't know. I just feel like even though it doesn't have to be, uh, all exclusive, but at least we know where all these franchises are coming from. Like we know where they're coming from Sony. We know that they're coming from Microsoft, and I just, as much as I like the idea, I still think that there's still going to be a little bit of competitiveness. Is yeah, you've got that, we've got this. You'll get it eventually, and obviously you've got what you've got, and we will get that. It's like Death Stranding. Death Stranding came out on PlayStation, and obviously it came out on Xbox later on. Now I think number two of Death Stranding. I don't think that's on the Xbox at the minute, but
No, it's not.
obviously it's on the PlayStation. So yeah, um, will it come to the Xbox? I would imagine so if the first one did. So yeah, like I say, it'd be nice if it did come out day one for everyone, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, in
No,
my
I mean
opinion.
these game companies, the Sony, Microsoft, they're in the business of selling consoles, so of course they're going to want to have that exclusivity. Now, speaking of selling consoles, could this be a console seller? Beast of Reincarnation was shown off as well last night at the Direct. One of the surprise standouts was this game, a new action RPG from Pokemon developer Game Freak. Set in post-apocalyptic Japan in the year 4026, the game has strong Neo Automata vibes, overgrown ruins, corrupted creatures, and a melancholic tone. You play as Emma, a young woman infected by a force called the Blight. She can seal it within herself, allowing her to purify enemies, but it also makes her a social outcast. She's joined by Ku, a wolf-like creature also corrupted by the Blight, and together they set out to defeat the legendary beasts of Reincarnation, the source of the plague. In terms of the gameplay, it's real-time action combat, katana and bow usage and things like that, a companion system where Ku can slow down time, tactical, basically almost turn-based ability selections mid-fight. The game also features skill trees for both characters, massive buff enemies, also called Noshis, unusual traversal, including Emma's transforming her into vine-like tools, and it's coming out later this summer for both PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and it will be available on Game Pass Day 1. Now, watching that trailer, I could not help but think of Ghost of Yachty. You've got this female Japanese character and a large wolf-like companion. Now, you've played that. I've not got round to playing yet. How would you compare these two games based on what we've seen so far?
With the likes of Ghost of Yachty, I mean, I still need to finish. I've got so far into it, but from what I've played out of it, and I've played Ghost of Tsushima as well. So, and I finished that game, and I absolutely love that game. It's definitely one of PlayStation's best games that's ever come out, in my opinion. But the Ghost of Yotai, it's more, it's not like, what's the word for it? It's not like, it's more down to ground. It's not like there's nothing like mythical like magic type things happening in that game.
Yeah, a bit more
It's
realistic.
yeah, it's more realistic, and yeah, the wolf companion that's on that, it doesn't always, it's not always there with you, but it does help out at certain points. Um, but yeah, it's a very good game to play from what I've played out of it so far.
So, given the fact you played Ghost of Yachty and now you've seen Beast of Reincarnation, do you feel like this is a game you're going to grab and going to give a go?
I mean, for me personally, I'd like to see more into it. I'm not all that big into these type of games where it has like these mythical type creatures and magic and all that. But well, I don't know. For me, it's a bit different. It's like I like playing the likes of Skyrim, which has like magic in that game, and Lord of the Rings, I guess. But with Ghost of Yotide, like the comparison there, yeah, I mean, I haven't finished it yet, but I am going to eventually finish it. But from what I have played out of it, I'm really enjoying it, and obviously the fact that it's well, sort of like a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which I did play and I did finish, and I did really enjoy playing that game. I would imagine it would be the same for Ghost of Yotei. And this new game, um, like I say, it does look interesting, but I'll have to see more of it and give it some time and thought before I make that decision if I want to play that game.
Absolutely. Now, a game that certainly took a lot of people by surprise, including myself, more so because I actually want to play it. It's very unusual for this sort of game, but Kiln. Kiln is an online multiplayer party brawler, but instead of characters, you play as custom-made plant pots and cups and things of the like. And this isn't a simple character creator. You literally sculpt your pot on a spinning rock pottery wheel using various tools like sponges and scrapers and so forth. The shape you create directly affects how your pot plays in combat. In the main mode, Quench, teams of pots battle 4v4 to extinguish the enemy kiln. Gameplay depth comes from design choices, including large pots move slowly but hold more water. Small, sharp pots are faster and more aggressive, and certain areas are only accessible to specific pot shapes. Special abilities vary wildly from flinging pies to transforming into weapons, and maps are themed around ancient pottery cultures like Greece and Egypt. It's coming out later this spring. It's going to be available on PS5, PC via Steam, and Xbox S and X, and it's going to be on Game Pass day one. Now, this really was like, when this video was starting, and they were going, they had these pottery things, and I was like, what the hell is this? And then they smashed it, and then as you started watching the actual gameplay and they started talking about it, I was like, this actually really looks like a fun, unique style of party brawler. Now, you and me are absolutely going to dive into this at some point in the future because it just looks really too fun to not do. But I mean, it looks good. Like, it's not like super graphical, but it's got that vibe to it. It's so cheesy. It's so character filling, and I really like it actually. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, it certainly is something different. Yeah, to me, like this type of game, it's not. Well, I mean, I guess you could have a bit of competitiveness to it, but it's not one of those type of games where it's serious competitiveness is like the likes of Call of Duty or Halo or Gears of War, or along those lines. But yeah, it is interesting that you can create your own your own like type of pot, and I was a bit surprised because when I was watching that as well, I was like, is this just like something that the developers do in their spare time when they were making the clay in the pot and everything? And I was like, is this just to get out of clear their minds, I guess, while they're at work? But no, it is interesting. It is one of those type of games where I think you can just sit down and just have some fun and don't really have to think too much of it and just enjoy playing it with your friends.
Yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to that one. Just when it's on Game Pass, so it's no loss if it's not the best, but it looks really fun. Now, going back in time a little bit, many years ago, we had a brand new franchise called Fable, and then it disappeared for a bit. Then the Turn 10 studios, they're also releasing Forza Horizon 6 this year. So you know what? Let's get into that. Let's rebuild our own version of Fable. Now, Fable was one of the most detailed segments of the entire Direct. Playground Games confirmed the rebuild will feature 1,000 plus fully voiced NPCs. Every NPC has been handcrafted, no procedural generation, again going into AI there. And yes, you can basically marry every single one of them if you really want to, and have a load of kids and so on and so on. NPCs react dynamically to your mortality, reputation, and your past actions, so you better behave. Instead of a simple good versus evil system, Fable uses a shades of grey mortality, not to be confused with the book, where decisions build reputations differently depending on location and individual NPC worldviews. NPCs will comment on your actions, react differently based on their beliefs, act as a living reflection of your choices. The key details taken away from this are open world fantasy RPG. It focuses on consequences and character relationships, strong emphasis on humour, identity and choice, and it's going to be coming out later this year, fall 2026. And it's going to be available on Xbox Series S and X, PC, Cloud and PS5. And again, as with all the other games on this Direct, it's going to be available on Game Pass day one. The PS5 day one launch is especially notable, showing just how far Xbox strategy has shifted this time around. Now, Fable, again, it kind of dives into that fantasy kind of realm, but I feel like it's closer to Elder Scrolls than Beast of Reincarnation, in my opinion. I mean, the idea that you basically... You can marry NPCs, you can have children, you can buy houses, you can rent them out, you can be a good person, you can be a bad person. It just sounds like someone's just taken the concept of life and made it into a video game. I mean, have you ever played any of the Fable games? I mean, I haven't, but have you?
I have played Fable 3 once, from what I remember. The only thing with it... can only remember bits and pieces of it, but I do remember that you can marry like anyone, and you can have kids on there as well, and buy I think you can buy certain properties on there as well, but obviously this is on a much more bigger scale.
Yeah.
And
it's huge. The game's huge.
Yeah, and I really do like the look of it, and yeah, basically, it's changed hands from what was the previous developers call again? Was it Lions? Was it Lionsgate?
Lions something, yeah. Lionsgate, Lions Sword or something like that.
Yeah, and it's now in the hands of it's Playground Games.
Yeah. Playground Games, not Turn 10. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we know that they make the Forza games and Forza Horizon, and we know how well they do with that. Well, this is something completely different for them to do.
Oh yeah.
And the developers were like, they were saying that even though it's from the legendary Lionsgate development company, but they all have that passion to bring back Fable because they all love Fable.
Yeah,
and
there's a huge fan base,
and I really do that. They do very well in bringing it back, and they should. I already know. I mean, there was that giant guy. You know what I'm on about. I can't think of his name. He's been in a few TV shows and like movies with like Ben Stiller and that. He's in the game, but I was quite surprised to see that he was actually in it. I didn't think that he would be in it, but yeah, it's interesting. From what the gameplay looked, it looks really, really good. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very well fleshed out. It looks really nice. It's got that sort of cartoony vibe that you'd expect from Fable, but you can certainly tell it's a brand new engine. You know, they've taken that experience of optimizing the graphics stuff from the Forza engines, and they've done a really good job. It's probably something I probably won't play, but it does look good. It does look good.
Yeah.
Now, that was everything that was announced and shown at Xbox Developer Direct, or Microsoft Developer Direct. Now, a few things that were missing that were expected to be there. There was no update on Gears of War E-Day. Halo was completely absent in terms of Combat Evolved. And there was rumours of a new ad-tier cloud gaming. Now, for me, we'll get news on E-Day. We'll get news on Halo Combat Evolved. But I feel like cloud gaming just was completely absent from this direct. Yeah, they mentioned that the games were coming to Game Pass, which you can in some cases stream via the cloud. But it just felt like it was odd that they were like, we spent all this, last few years pushing this is an Xbox, this is, cloud gaming, and some of the biggest games that they've announced don't appear to be part of the cloud streaming. Now, that might be a later on thing, but you've actually been diving into the cloud a lot lately on your new Ally X. Like, firstly, what are your impressions of the Ally X itself?
Oh, I'm absolutely loving how it is at the minute. It's my first official PC handheld I've ever had. I've had the likes of the PS Portal, but that's just purely a streaming device. I've also dabbled playing, with the Nintendo Switch 2. That's another good device. But obviously, that's not just a streaming device. That you can play like any like Nintendo game that's available for that system. I have been playing some the backwards compatible games on there from like the likes of Nintendo 64 on there, and yeah, with the Ally, yeah, it's certainly a hefty piece of kit to have, and it's, as I say, it's all new to me, fresh in my hands at least anyway, and yeah, I am I am getting into it, and hopefully I will get more hands-on experience with it.
And what has your experience with the cloud gaming on there been?
I mean, the only game that's I've played through cloud gaming on it, at least, was Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online, and it does work. But there is moments where it does start to, buffer, like with the lag in that, and it becomes a little bit pixelated. But when it's like that, and I try to do things like, just to try, for example, drive down the street and make it round to the next street, it starts to become a little bit of a problem. But other than that, it doesn't always happen, but it works quite well. I just hope that, I mean, to me at least, it feels like it's kind of going in the right direction, but I feel like it still needs work for now. But yeah, it is a good experience so far. Well, it's not like entirely bad, but it's at the minute it's all right. So yeah, it does need a little bit of work still.
Yeah, and it's nothing to do with the Ally X itself. It's more the streaming side. I mean, I've been playing on a quite high-end game PC, and I experienced those same issues. You'll get a little bit of input lag, you'll get some weird pixelations, a little bit of stuttering here or there. So it's absolutely the same. I mean, obviously, it heavily requires on your internet, and that itself can have a few issues. Little micro losses of connection. But yeah, in my experience as well with cloud gaming, certainly on a desktop experience, it's okay. It does the job, but it is not one-to-one with the console. I think once we get one-to-one with the console, that's when Xbox can say, do you know what, like, we don't need to spend millions of pounds developing a new Xbox. We can just, throw a load of into a server and then create this supposed, what to do anyway, hybrid PC. So that pretty much wrapped up Xbox's Microsoft Direct. It wasn't about trying to win headlines, it was about rebuilding trust. Fewer promises, more gameplay, and a clearer picture of what Xbox is actually delivering over the next 2 years. And despite Halo and Gears of War's lack of appearance there, hopefully, sometime soon, within the next few months, I would imagine, we shall get a big update on there. Speaking of Gears of War, coming up very soon, me and my good friend Hoggy here, we're going to be diving into Gears of War 4, playing on stream, over on Twitch, and here on YouTube. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, check on your notifications, and you'll know exactly when we're up. Now, we talked earlier about the console differences, like platform exclusivity and stuff like that. Now, what if you could actually have one console that could basically play your Switch 2 games, your PS5 games, and your Xbox games? Well, that's exactly what a modder in China has gone and done. Building a Nintendo Xbox 5. So, this segment of how is this even real goes to a Chinese modder who decided that owning 3 consoles was just inconvenient. Instead of choosing sides, she chose violence against the console war, something we're strongly against here ourselves. Zhai Ningzi, a popular Chinese YouTuber, has built a 3-in-1 console that combines a PS5, a Series X, and a Switch 2 into a single unit. She's lovingly named the Nintendo Xbox 5, which already sounds like something you'd see behind glass at Area 51. The idea is simple but completely unhinged in the best way possible. One box, all 3 consoles, and you switch between them with just one button. She said having 3 consoles set up separately was annoying, which, to be fair, means 3 power bricks, 3 HDMI cables, and 3 different excuses for why your setup looks messy. Now, originally, just shoving all 3 consoles into one box would have resulted in what she described as a 10-kilogram block of metal, not exactly living room friendly. So instead, she stripped each console down to its essential components, the motherboard, the cooling, and the power. Inspired by the Mac Pro trash can design, she created a shared aluminum core, used copper plate, and built a single cooling system and power supply for all 3 consoles. Yes, all 3 systems run off one 250-watt power supply, which works perfectly, as long as you don't try to play 2 games at once, which feels like a very reasonable adult rule. She even made a custom Switch 2 dock, so you can still pull it out and play it handheld, because, well, of course she did. The finished console has a bigger triangular button on top, and when you press it, the light changes blue for PlayStation, green for Xbox, and red for Switch, which honestly feels cleaner and most official UI design she could have come up with. At the end of the video, she basically says she didn't expect it to look this good, which it really does look good, and then casually drops that she thinks it looks better than the PS5, which is bold, but also not wrong. I mean, the PS5 is a space heater. She describes the moment all 3 systems work together as feeling like world peace, and honestly, if anything was going to end the console war, it probably wasn't Twitter. It was this. What started as a joke turned into a fully functional, genuinely useful console, and a very polite message to platform holders everywhere. Stop fighting and just let people play games. Now, full credit goes to Zhai Ningzi on YouTube for building the absolute monster of a console, and we'll leave a link in the video description below. Now, this thing is absolutely astonishing. I mean, she's got a very high level of technical machinery skills to even pull this off. I mean, I've seen stuff in the past where people have have took a Series X innards, for example, and converted it and made it work with a game PC, but all free? I mean, that's just incredible. You've seen it. I mean, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think it's very, very sleek in design, and I do like the fact that obviously, you can, it'll change the color to, green for the, Xbox, or blue for the PlayStation, and obviously red for Switch. Um, yeah, I do think it's a good thing, like gamers shouldn't be restricted to playing like certain games, like. But I just say it is. We're in that type of world where, unfortunately, it is. But yeah, I do like the look of it, and it is a nice idea.
Well, let's hope Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are watching that video at some point and think, actually, you know what, let's capitalize on that and, bring all three together. It will never happen, but it would be a really cool little kind of console there that just solves everyone's problems. No longer we're fighting over, this is the best console, that's because they're all the best at that point. Now, speaking of mods, this time more towards games themselves, there's been a huge controversy involving a Cyberpunk VR mod and CD Projekt Red. So, one of the most popular Cyberpunk mods ever came from Luke Ross, the creator behind the REAL VR mods that let you experience Night City in full virtual reality. By all accounts, people absolutely loved it, until CD Projekt Red dropped a DMCA. Now, this wasn't just a random takedown. This issue was that Luke Ross, he was charging for the mod at about $10 a month through Patreon, and CDPR's fan content rules very clearly state that those sort of mods have to be free unless you've got explicit permission. Now, CDPR even said they'd be happy for the mod to come back, just without the paywall. And that's where things went sideways, because Luke Ross basically refused, he doubled down, he called it corporal logic, and argued that his VR framework doesn't use CDPR's code or assets. That's its own independent software and not fan content, which, to be fair, is a very modern argument, and also exactly the kind of argument lawyers look to ruin. Now, context matters here because Luke Ross reportedly makes around $20,000 a month through Patreon, modding VR versions of games like Elden Ring, Far Cry, and Days Gone. So this isn't a side hustle, this is a business. The DMCA hit, Patreon pulled the mod immediately, and suddenly the only real Cyberpunk VR experience disappeared overnight. And then, because the internet always finds a way, people started pirating the mod. Some out of fear of losing access, some out of spite, and some very loudly claiming they were doing it to punish the creator, which is not the heroic art people think it is. What makes this worse is that Luke Ross had actually approached CDPR several years ago about turning the mod into an official VR port, and they basically declined. They also aren't planning to make their own VR version. So now we're in the worst possible timeline. The mod is gone, players have lost their VR support unless they go the pirate route, modding takes another hit in general, and everyone's mad at everyone else. Honestly, it's one of those situations where nobody really wins. CDPR is basically protecting their IP, whereas Luke Ross is protecting his work and his income. And gamers, well, they're just the ones left standing there like, cool, now we've got nothing. Which feels very cyberpunk, if we're being honest. Now, I have a stance, quite a strong stance when it comes to modding. I'm heavily in favour of free mods. Not because then I don't have to pay for them, but because I think it's fair on the developers. I mean, this cyberpunk mod, it wouldn't exist without the game. So it wouldn't exist without Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red spending millions of dollars, tens of thousands of man hours making this game, and he comes along and just pops a DLL in there and says, right, now it's got VR support, and then is making $10 a month off it. Like, to me, that's ultimately what's pretty much happened. Yeah, there's back end stuff, he's made it work, but ultimately, he's just making money off someone else's work. And there's a lot of projects in the world that do that. I mean, Patreon should be more for your own actual things, not just taking the wheels off a bike and putting a new set of wheels on and then charging double, you know. And that's pretty much what Luke Ross has done here. He's basically took the main game, thrown his VR software in, and then charged people monthly. This isn't a buy it now and have it forever. This is a subscription. So if you've had this for a year, you've had to pay £120 to continue using it, which I'm absolutely against, because for one, he had no permission to even charge, and two, it's a continuing charge. You know, it's not you buy it now, that's it. You buy it now, you buy it next month, you buy it again, and so on and so on. Now, you've had actual experience with Cyberpunk and non-related VR with PSVR 2. Is it so if CD Projekt Red came out tomorrow and they basically said, coming next week, VR support on the PlayStation 5, what would your reaction be?
I think it would be from obviously the game itself, you know, the story and whatnot. It's the same experience, but obviously this playing it through, you know, VR it's the same experience, but it's a different it's a different way to experience it, which I think it's a good idea. That and obviously if it's done right, then yeah, I'm all for it. I do like the idea of that.
Well, let's hope there's a lot more people out there that call on CDPR to do just that. Now, another game that has had its life resuscitated recently is, of course, Red Dead Redemption 2, with the discovery of the new spiderweb mystery. So, somehow, 7 years later, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still hiding secrets. Because of course it is. This time, players have uncovered a genuinely wild mystery involving spiderwebs, telegraph poles, feathers, guitars, and absolutely zero instructions. Peak Rockstar. It starts with a strange craft scroll near Cumberland Forest, carved with a spider symbol. Between 3 AM and 4 AM in game, a spiderweb appears just above it. Miss the window, and you're waiting around another night, so don't miss. From there, players mapped out 8 more spiderwebs, 1 for each leg of the original spider, each appearing on different hours of the day with black and red feathers. Rockstar even treats these webs like dream catchers within the game's files, so they are meant to be found. In a 9th central web has appeared between 1 AM and 2 AM, which is a lot bigger than the rest, seemingly hiding the letter F. That leads to more cabins, more guitars, somehow involving Fort Wallace, a cabin with 2 dead NPCs inside, and then just nothing. There's no reward, there's no cutscene, it's just complete silence. Some think it links back to GTA 5 dialogue and could be a subtle GTA 6 tease. Others believe it ties to eagle flies and the feather colours. Or it's just Rockstar's basically sat there watching everyone lose their minds, like we did with the Mount Chiliad mystery. Full credit, of course, goes to The Strange Man on YouTube for piecing this together. We'll leave a link to the full breakdown of his video in the description. Now, we've seen in GTA 5, you know, we had this still ongoing, you know, 13-year mystery involving Mount Chiliad. Now, how that could tie back to the Red Dead 2 mystery is there's a spider web that appears there on top of well, it's at the cable car and it's like underneath. It's like a looking outpost sort of thing, and there's the spider web appears there. It's most likely that mystery was never fully. It was supposed to be part of David Trevor DLCs and so forth. That's a completely different topic for a different story. But it's, by the seams of it, there's definitely a link. You know, we've got the exact same spider webs now appearing in Red Dead 2, 7 years after the game came out. People are now discovering them, and it has this kind of suggestion that, you know, this started in GTA 5, it's now all over Red Dead. Could the upcoming GTA 6, you know, you can just see it now, like day 1 GTA 6, people are just running around looking for spider webs. Like, I mean, it would be the biggest troll ever if it's got nothing at the end of it whatsoever, and it's just people literally caught up in a web of lies, ironically. Now, you've recently played Red Dead 1. Now, we know there's no spider webs in there, but with this mystery, is it something you think is going to be explained within Red Dead 2, or do you think we might have to wait till GTA 6 to get the full conclusion?
I mean, like, maybe it will get explained in GTA 6. But the thing is with this as well, like, I remember when it first came out, Red Dead 2, and I do recall seeing one of those webs, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was like a net thrown over the telephone pole or something daft like that. And for it to be this whole big Easter egg thing, yeah, I do, I do hope that it does get explained in obviously what the big mystery is, and it's going back to, like, kind of like with GTA 5 with that Mount Chiliad one. That one is still a thing now, isn't it? That's still going.
Yes, people are still going through and potentially, there's been a few new discoveries here and there regarding that people think is linked to Mount Chiliad, but still we've had a few videos where they believe they've uncovered it. But I think the overall theory is that it was the Mount Chiliad mystery was basically teasing the now cancelled single player DLCs. I think that's the best. I mean, you've got the egg, which is the alien related stuff. Then you've got the jetpack, which was Agent Trevor. And then there was something else as well, and it just ties in. It's kind of like all three characters, and there's a lot of people have done a lot of work on GTA 5's Mount Chiliad mystery, and now this spiderweb mystery is probably going to be another 5 to 10 years mystery where we don't really find out, but we kind of come to a generic conclusion. Let us know what you think in the comments about this Red Dead mystery. What are your opinions? Or if you've got anything else to talk about that we discussed in the show today, such as Fable, Forza Horizon 6, which game are you looking forward to the most? Let us know in the comments, and you might just get featured in next week's episode. Yeah, that's right, next week's episode and potential further episodes. This is just the first in hopefully very many episodes. Now, speaking of firsts, wrapping up today, 007 First Light, the next-gen James Bond game we've been waiting for over a decade, has finally confirmed it's getting Xbox Play Anywhere when it launches on May 27th this year. Funny enough, just one day earlier, we would have been playing GTA 6. Anyway, and honestly, after the game has been delayed by 3 months, Xbox fans needed something to smile about. This is the first Bond game since 2012's 007 Legends, which feels like a lifetime ago. Different consoles, different engines, and probably different Bond actor of all three. The game's launching on Xbox Series S and X, PS5, Switch 2, and PC, so no console wars needed there. And IO Interactive decided to soften the delay by announcing Play Anywhere support on X, formerly Twitter. If you're not familiar, Xbox Play Anywhere basically means you buy the game once and Microsoft doesn't make you buy it again, which already puts it ahead of most villains in a Bond history. Buy it digitally on Xbox, you can basically play it on Windows PC too. Same game, same license, no double dipping. Even better, it supports cross-save, so you can start playing on your console, jump over to PC, or even a handheld like the Ally, something Hoggy's probably going to be doing himself, and pick up exactly where you left off, because nothing says secret agent like resuming a mission mid-sofa change. So yeah, while the delay still stings, this is generally a solid win for Xbox players, and honestly a smart move by IO Interactive. Now, of course, IO Interactive, that name is forever associated with Hitman, and it's the same team, so we're now basically getting a Hitman style game, but a James Bond style game. For me, I'm looking forward to it. There's the last Bond game I actually played was Quantum of Solace, so that was before 007 Legends. I have never got around to playing it actually, but I like the look of it. I like the style of it. It's great we're getting a new Bond game. You know, Bond is probably one of the biggest film franchises in the world, and could now become one of the biggest game franchises in the world. You know, I mean, are you going to play it, Oggy?
Yeah, I am most certainly going to be playing it. I've always watched the movies. I have played, a few games in the past, like GoldenEye, from Russia with Love. They're all good games, and this one it's more of like an origin story, I believe, isn't it? That's if that's correct.
Yeah, completely brand new story.
Yeah, and it's a new Bond actor as well, and it's a completely new take on it, and I am looking forward to seeing how the story plays out for 007 in this game, and I am looking forward to seeing more gameplay, and yeah, and I will certainly be playing it on my Ally X without a doubt.
Oh yeah, you've got to, absolutely. Well, that pretty much wraps up this week. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Remember, you can follow us on all of our socials over on Twitter, formerly, well, now X. I always call it Twitter. Twitch, and already here on YouTube. Hit the notifications. You'll know when our next videos and lives go up. Don't forget, we will be uploading videos on a regular basis, so keep checking back. And of course, as always, have a great rest of the week. It's a bye from me.
And it's a bye from me.